Good morning and welcome to Rising. We've got a great show for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning, Robby. How you doing?
I'm doing well. You're looking lovely as ever.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice of you. You're making me feel good.
The black and white is giving like a little bit of the Addams Family, Wednesday Addams.
You know what?
Right?
The guy who hired me at News Nation, he messaged me one day. I had a college shirt on. He said it's giving Wednesday Addams. So maybe that's
Hey, there you
maybe
go.
That's my vibe. Maybe Wednesday Addams is my vibe. And really, you're the bright and cheery one, and I'm the dark and
We're Gomez and Morticia.
Exactly. Coming up on Rising, late night host Stephen Colbert said on his show that CBS refused to let him air an interview he did with Democratic candidate James Tallarico.
Oh boy. Plus, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker's cousin, Tom Pritzker, is stepping down as executive chair of Hyatt Hotels Corporation over his ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
And Congressman Hakeem Jeffries got into a tense back and forth with a left-wing podcaster over Jeffries' approach to ICE. But first, Robby, what's on your radar?
Well, I made fun of Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez yesterday on Rising after listening to her get tripped up when discussing U.S.-Taiwan policy at the Munich Security Conference a few days ago, but her remarks on that topic were brilliant and statesmanlike when compared with what she had to say about South America. Can AOC even find the continent on a map? Hint, it's down there. After listening to her say the following, I'm doubtful. Watch this.
We look at what happened in Venezuela, for example. It is not a it is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because the nation is below the equator.
Ooh, quick fact check there. The country of Venezuela is entirely north of the equator. You can consult a map if you don't believe me. Perhaps AOC should put as much effort into learning geography as she does perfecting her Latin American accent. I'm envious of those rolled R's, to be sure, but I'd like a possible presidential contender to know even basic facts about the areas of the world she's discussing. But honestly, the Venezuela gaffe was not as significant as this next one, more troubling than a mere geography blunder. AOC doesn't appear to understand the history of the Americas and the role that European colonization played in it. Watch this misinformed criticism she made of Secretary of State Marco Rubio's remarks on the origins of cowboy culture.
Marco Rubio's speech was a pure appeal to Western culture. My favorite part was when he said that American cowboys came from Spain.
I thought they came from Winnetou, but
I believe the Mexicans and descendants of African enslaved peoples would like to have a word on that.
What? Spain is absolutely the originator of cowboy culture, not enslaved African persons. It was the Europeans who reintroduced horses to the Americas after they had died out thousands of years before. In South America, that was the Spanish conquistadors. The vaqueros, Mexican cowboys, sorry, I can't pronounce it as accurately as AOC, they had distinct Spanish influences, and that influence spread up through Texas to the American Southwest. That's what happened. Sorry. It's disconcerting that AOC would go to Europe and then minimize the achievements and contributions of Europeans to American culture. I'm also troubled that the Europeans in the room laughed along with her. Do they want their own culture erased? Is that what progressive leftism, the ideology of AOC, the one she wants to install over all of us, is that what it seeks to achieve? I was assured by liberal Democrats that President Trump and Vice President Vance, who are the ones offending Europeans all the time and damaging the U.S.-Europe relationship by downplaying the significance of it. But AOC is downplaying our shared history in service of uplifting a false narrative about Native and marginalized peoples, I suppose, which is ultimately the end game of cultural leftism, historical revisionism in the service of identity politics. But thank goodness we had Rubio over there setting everybody straight. Maybe he could offer to tutor AOC in Latin American history and geography. I hear he doesn't have quite enough jobs to do yet.
He does have 1,000 jobs.
So, look, I wouldn't be too harsh on her for just the Venezuela thing. You know, it's a little bit like when Tucker challenged Ted Cruz, what's the exact population of Iran? Okay, whatever. But the other part of it is significant. You should understand that, like, what informs American culture in the Southwest is an influence of Mexican direct of people going from Mexico into Texas who were culturally part of the Spanish conquest of South America, Latin America. Like, that's a pretty basic understanding of history that she was mocking Rubio for claiming.
Well, I think maybe she just
What's
started.
going on there?
She started at a later point in history when we think about when America.
What?
I'm talking about a later point in history when we think about how America receives cowboy cultures. The only reason I'm saying this is because I did a documentary about it in Denver about how cowboy culture did come largely from the South, that came from Mexico in the way that we see cowboys. So yes, vaqueros and everything that we're bringing up is all past the point, though. We can go into the history of cowboys.
I guess we're going into it.
We're taking up too much space right here.
Well, she didn't need to
talk
take
about
a
the fact
shot
that
at Rubio and be wrong.
I know, but policy is not what she got wrong here. Facts is what she got wrong here about the Equator location and about cowboy history. The real thing and the real nervousness, I believe, that's coming from all the criticism of her, because usually when somebody's highly criticized, it means the spotlight is on them, is that she went to this international conference and looked to a lot of people quite presidential. And so what we really should be talking about is the distinct difference of policy that she's offering as opposed to who could be her contender, Marco Rubio, in the next presidential election. They both were laying out a vastly different plans for international experiences in America and how we deal with the international community. And I think that that is the bigger conversation coming out of here, as opposed to if she thinks it's right below the equator, right above it. I mean, it's literally right on the equator.
Okay,
so
but
I just don't understand why everybody wants to be so wrapped up in.
Let me tell you why this is, I think, actually quite important. And the reason for that is, well, one,
she started with him.
You've been telling me that Trump and Vance are harming our relationship with Europe. How does it not harm our relationship with Europe to minimize their contributions to the American project? I agree that there is European influence on Americans. On the founding of the U.S. clearly comes from Enlightenment, British elements of French philosophy and Greco-Roman history, and there are Dutch influence. It's very European, the founding of our country. The continent itself, significant Portuguese, Dutch, French, Spanish influences. That's all important. And she was trying to erase that. She said it was African enslaved persons. She wanted to talk about, make it an identity politics, the triumph of marginalized people. And that is historical revisionism. It's leftist, and it's why someone of a leftist, Marxist ideology would be dangerous as our president.
Well, I think both things can be true, right? We know that there were a ton of black cowboys, at least I do from the documentary I produced in Denver, that were completely erased out of the conversation, that had a large part to do with how cowboy culture is viewed
by Mexican, Hispanic. I'm not saying
fair. Yeah, no, I know.
Black people can't be cowboys,
no, I know.
obviously.
I'm saying that she is pointing to that, and she got it wrong. She's forgetting to include the history before that. She's talking about directly in our country. But when I think about what AOC is doing and being there on the global stage, is she really harming the relationship by that comment more than we are threatening Greenland, or by taxing and tariffing our counterparts and friends to death? Is she doing much more harm with actual statements that she got wrong that she can easily correct, as opposed to actions that leave people economically in despair because of our tariffs and some things that we're doing internationally? So tell me, or leave the Greenland prime minister trying to come negotiate because he's scared for his life, and the people of Greenland telling them, please don't come over here and take our land. I'm just saying, this is what we're doing internationally,
and
versus what she's saying.
I don't think the president should make light of the shared. I'm for European cultural recognition of the import.
So you want her to apologize?
Culture has had on the U.S.
and correct herself.
I just want her to do some tutoring, get some tutoring lessons from Marco, and then it'll be fine.
So you don't want to talk about anything about her idea for the working class and the things that she said over there?
Those
actually
are bad ideas.
Had merit.
You can go back and listen to what we talked about
yesterday.
What she had to say about Taiwan and other things. I also don't like her solutions, but I think the reason I don't like her solutions is they're following from a place of historical illiteracy. Not historic, her level of illiteracy, it's historical. More names revealed in the Epstein files, the latest big name to resign over his connection to the disgraced financier. We'll tell you who that is. Stay with us.